When I started, I said yes to everything. I needed to go out and make people know me. I went up to people. I asked them questions. I had conversations. I went to every networking event. I had every meeting because no one knew me. Now everyone knows me. First thing is that we have to stop the victim mentality. We have to stop feeling sorry for ourselves. There's the finite mindset and the infinite mindset. Infinite is there's a set of players, there are no rules, and there's no set outcome. The goal is to stay in the game as long as possible. Botswana's problems are shared. Other countries have the same problems we have. So when you solve a problem here, you're most probably solving a problem in another country. I'm afraid of not striving for my potential.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're sitting today with a millionaire at the age of 22. Welcome to the show, Mr. Motheo Kgengwenyane. Thank you. How you doing, man?
I'm good, thanks.
Imagine being a millionaire at 22. I mean, think about that. Think about the odds of actually being a millionaire at the young age of 22. At 22, I was in varsity, barely making it out in entrepreneurship, barely even knowing what I was doing. But today, we have an exciting interview with a young millionaire by the name of Motheo Kgengwenyane, making strides in entrepreneurship and putting Botswana on the map. So buckle up and get ready for an exciting interview, exciting gems that will be dropping in this episode. Hey everybody, my name is Motheo. Welcome to Deep Dive. If you're here for the first time, definitely consider subscribing. Our content is on personal development, personal finance, and entrepreneurship, and or business. Comment below on your biggest takeaway and share this video with one friend because I know you'll find some value in this. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's deep dive. Essentially, when did you become a millionaire? And also, what was that pivot or that shift in the way you did things that allowed you to get to this point?
When did I? Maybe 16 months into running the company. So 16 months after 2020.
16 months after 2020?
Yeah.
So like early 2021?
Late 2021.
Late 2021?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What the company profits, I didn't take anything for myself. Everything went to investing and starting in exciting startups in Silicon Valley, exciting startups in Europe. I mean, there's this startup that it's called Clone Robotics.
Yeah.
They have a synthetic.
The one on your website that you have invested in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've invested, I think, in like 9 startups. It has a synthetic arm with artificial muscle, and it can lift weights. And they want to create a whole body, a synthetic body with artificial muscle to lift heavy weights, to do dangerous jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
in the mines.
Yeah. I mean, even just forget about the application. The research and development into developing a synthetic body and artificial muscle and then making it automated. I mean, that's
yeah.
There's no way I'm not going to invest in that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. I mean, I just love that. I mean, yeah. So we've invested in a few startups across there. And I also have my own personal investments that I think. So I live below my means. You know, I don't shop. I mean, this morning, I only brought like 2 pairs of pants when I came back. I didn't expect to be here for long. I went into my dad's wardrobe. These are my dad's pants. You know, so I don't shop. I have a shortage of clothing even. You know, I don't go out. So I'm not paying for any drinks. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Eating.
You don't watch Netflix?
I don't watch Netflix, Prime, eating maybe once a day. So really my expenditure is quite low. So I also live below my means, you know. I switched to now plain t-shirts, no branding.
Zuckerberg style.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to wear.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, and I shop maybe twice a year, every 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I do. So yeah, the only reason I bought new shoes is because my other shoes got a hole in it. And in the UK, it rains a lot. So, you know, that's the only reason I got new shoes. Otherwise, I would have never. So, yeah, that's I limit my lifestyle in terms of expenditure I'm not going to go out and buy Gucci or LV or things like that.
I think that's a great way to, that we don't talk about a lot, like living below our means, because we talk about like making money, make sure that your company does this, but it's also about not losing money. Like Warren Buffett talks about, the rule number one is don't lose money.
Yeah.
So money has to always be reinvested. So what was your biggest day financially?
My biggest day?
Where you like woke up and you're like, oof. Yeah. You looked at the bank account and you're like, no, man.
I don't like cash. I don't like keeping cash in my account because I might end up investing in another company or doing something with this. So what I do is immediately when there's cash, I invest it in stocks, in alternative investments, arts, watches, vintage whiskey barrels and things like that, alternative investments. And what's nice about those investments is they're locked. 5 to 7 years, I can't access them. So they're just going to keep growing per annum.
Yeah.
So yeah. And in terms of my biggest day.
Like the most money you made in a day, you're like.
Oh, in a day?
Yeah.
Oh man, it was, I'm going to take my first order, huge order. I think it was around, 150,000 pounds for the agri-tech company. I mean, I've never seen a figure like that before in my life. And then I see that and I'm like, surely they made a mistake. There's no way they put this many zeros.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big shocker. That was my introduction. Because, I mean, in such a short period of time, I keep entering new doors where I'm in an area where I've never been before. And it's always shocking. So it's quite interesting to navigate. But I think the most important thing for me is keeping my core values, and being who I want to be and acting out who I'd like to be.
Yeah.
And not changing because everything else is changing.
That's happening.
Yeah.
So essentially you are a pound millionaire, not a Pula millionaire.
Not Pula, no.
Hey, I think that deserves a round of applause. I really think it does.
And 2020 was my first successful business. And that one, I structured it using the exponential organization model. And I combined that with game theory's finite and infinite mindset model.
We're going to have to get into that, but later on, yeah.
Yeah. I combined those two to create my business model and how I'm going to conduct business.
Yeah.
And because of that, so Exponential Organizations is an organization.
You actually get into it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was my next question. What is your business model?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Exponential Organization is an organization that leverages exponential technology to experience exponential growth within a short period of time. So that's what we did. And there are 11 attributes to an exponential organization that, as a startup, you have to do all of them. If you're a legacy company, maybe just 4. And yeah, so because of that, we experienced exponential growth. And I didn't receive a salary. So everything went back into the company and it just funded the next company.
So what are those? Some of those?
Okay. So the 11 attributes, there's the first 5 is scale, staff on demand. You don't want full-time staff. You want to borrow staff temporarily for whatever you're doing.
Like projects and then...
Yeah. Algorithm. You want to automate as much as you can, so that it frees up time and so that you're highly scalable. You can scale without increasing your workforce.
Yeah.
That's the power of algorithm. Leveraging assets. You want to avoid ownership of anything. Cut cost. Leverage the technologies that are already out there to add value to whatever you're trying to solve. That's what you want to avoid. Engagement. So you want your customers to keep engaging with you, whether it's loyalty programs, gamification, whatever it is. Like XPRIZE puts out these competitions to solve the world's most complex problems and have like $1 million prizes for it. Gets gamification engagement. And then, and then so those are the first 5. And then ideas is, I think I forgot the I. But E is experimentation. So you want to keep experimenting. At Amazon, when they have their weekly meetings, they ask how many experiments did you have this week?
Yeah.
If your numbers are low, there's a problem. Ideas. D is, I think I forgot that one also.
All right.
Or maybe I'm mixing them up. Automation, S, idea, no.
Okay. I think we can get into them also.
And then I also use the 6Ds of disruptive technology.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 6Ds is, first it becomes digitized.
Yeah.
So it becomes digital. And then it's deception.
Yeah.
So at first it's slow, but because it's exponential. So for example, if we take 30 steps forward, you and I, and you take one step after the other, and then for me, I take one step and then the next step I double from the previous.
Yeah.
You're gonna
compound.
Move, yeah. So it keeps on, you double the previous.
Yeah.
So you're going to move about 30 meters forward. I'm going to move 1 billion meters forward. That's 26 times around the earth. You see the difference in growth?
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, deception is you have slow. So like that's your 2, your 4, your 8, that's slow. And then now you start getting 16, 32, 64, exponential now.
Yeah.
And it keeps going. So, and then it becomes, after deception becomes disruptive. That's your exponential growth.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it becomes disruptive, now it becomes demonetized. So the cost of acquiring a customer goes to zero.
Yeah.
Look at ChatGPT. They utilize viral loop. They didn't need ads. They still, in the first month, 300 million users?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So
So they utilized the viral loop of that. So it was a disruptive technology, that one also. So it becomes demonetized, the cost of acquiring a customer. And then now it becomes dematerialized. So now you're removing the hardware aspect of it and it becomes like a software, an app. And then as it becomes an app and it's now accessed on the internet, it becomes democratized. Now everyone can access it.
Yeah.
So those are the 60s of disruptive technology.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Whew. That's a lot, eh? That's a lot. We just went through a course.
Yeah.
All right, so...
and game theory.
And game theory.
Yeah, I forgot to describe that. That's very important.
Yeah, get into it, yeah.
Yeah. So there's the finite mindset and the infinite mindset. So a finite mindset is there's a set of rules, a set number of players, and an outcome. So like a football game, there's a set of rules, there's a set of players, 2 players, and there's a set outcome that whoever scores the most goals wins.
Yeah.
Finite and infinite is there's a set of players, there are no rules, and there's no set outcome. The goal is to stay in the game as long as possible. Now, finite players want to say, I want to be the best in this. I want to be number one. I want number one on what metrics? Market share, number of employees, revenue, like who decides?
Yeah.
They want to be number one. The people say that, when you're walking around, they're like, if I get a 5 million pillar tender, I'll be sharp. That's a finite mindset.
Yeah.
Infinite is, how do I stay in the game as long as possible? That means I need to improve from yesterday. I need my companies to improve from yesterday. And there's no problem when it's a finite player against a finite player. Now the problem comes when it's a finite player versus an infinite player.
Yeah.
America versus Vietnam. The reason America lost is because America wanted to win the war, but the Vietnamese were like, we're going to stay in this as long as possible. I'm fighting for my life.
Outlast.
Yes. So that's why the Vietnam ended up winning.
Yeah.
The Soviet Union and in Afghanistan against the Mujahideen. The Soviet Union were like, we're going to win this war. The Mujahideen was like, no, we're going to stay in this as long as possible. And they ended up winning. So in a corporate example is Apple versus Microsoft.
Yeah.
When you go where there was an educational summit for Apple, for Microsoft, and they were like, the top executives were like, how can we be better than Apple? How can we beat them? They were focusing on the competition. At the Apple summit, they were like, what can we do to improve teachers' delivery of education? That's what they were asking. They had no focus on the competition. And then you wonder why iPads are dominating and Microsoft Surface products are not.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between a finite and infinite mindset.
Beautiful. Well put, man. And it makes a lot of sense actually when I think about some of the stuff, because I also did a lot of studying into Apple, and it's amazing. Anyway, you talked about going to Thornhill and then you went to MEP. My question to you is, what is the value that you think there is in going to a private school versus a public school, in your own words, and how you kind of like think about it?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a huge difference. I mean, especially in this country. You know, our public schools are in terrible conditions. The private schools are good. But I think the advantage of MAP is that the SPs, service, enrichment, and physical, you have no choice but to do a service. You have no choice but to do a physical. So the service I did was ordinary teaching.
Every student.
You have no choice. I did ordinary teaching, and that's when I saw the conditions of the school. That's when I was exposed to it. And that's why grade 8 is one of the things. But in terms of the difference, there's a huge difference. I mean, the open-mindedness, you don't develop that scarcity mindset that you would in a public school. It's easier to develop an abundance mindset at a private school than a public school. And that mindset there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Scarcity is I'm surviving for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Abundance is there's so much, I can create endless amount of everything.
And if you eat, you're not taking my food.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. So there's a huge difference. Yeah, it is.
Are there any contexts that you still, what can I say? Are there any people that you still work with, maybe in your company, maybe have worked with in the past, or maybe projects that you're looking to work in the future with some of the people you went with, some of your peers that you went with to school?
I have no Botswana in my company. Not a single one. I have no one who's lived in Botswana in my company. I'm yet to come across someone who has the infinite mindset and who has a global perspective and who's willing to put in 16 hours a day.
Why do you think that is?
I think that, I'll give an example. The Forbes event that happened. I got invited last minute. I was invited by the president last minute.
Yeah.
And I flew in the day before it started. And the reviews from that Forbes event, I heard that they were negative reviews, saying that why is it even here? I had no value, And then I was like, well, why? I mean, I got so many contacts. I easily, that event added a couple of $1 billion to the African economy. I can guarantee you that. If you went in there and networked and went out there, you gathered the contacts, strategic contacts, because you had key decision makers there.
Yeah.
You had key industry players there. You had the youngest millionaire in Africa there, a billionaire there. They were contacts. I even met some lady who manages 672 schools, and we're going to deploy Grey Ed across all of them.
Wow.
So it's like there was so much value in that. Yeah. And then, so my take is that they went there and they expected people to come to them. When I started, I said yes to everything. Networking events, meetings, everything, because no one knew me. So I needed to go out and make people know me. I went up to people. I asked them questions. I had conversations. I went to every networking event. I had every meeting because no one knew me. Now everyone knows me. So now I don't need to do as much as I did before. And here, I think people are already at that stage thinking, no, people already know me. So I'm not going to do that hard work. So they want to skip the hard work and just enjoy the fruits. And that's not how it works at all.
All right, talk to me about, as you look at a company, what's a company that looks good to you for you to be able to invest in? How are you sizing it up? What are those essential features you look out for?
It has to be, I only invest in exponential organizations. So it has to be structured that way. They have to be leveraging disruptive technologies. It has to be scalable. If you come to me and the idea is just for one country, no. If you come to me for 5 countries, nope. It has to be scalable globally. That's the only thing. And obviously you can start off small. But as long as the plan is to scale. The technologies they're using has to be the 60s of exponential technologies. So it has to disrupt the market. It has to be, digitized and all those things. And yeah, and then I would also look at your team. I think your team is very important. Yeah. So those are the things I look into most. And obviously, after those, that's like the first thing. Then after that, we start looking at your financial model. How are you making revenue? How are you making profit? And all those things. How are you going to decrease your costs to acquire one customer? That needs to go down to zero. How are you going to do that? Things like that. That's what I look into. Your financial model is critical.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Interesting. That is amazing, actually. And yeah, I've made a mental note of that.
Yeah, because it's actually quite interesting. I announced that I brought my investment fund to Botswana. Not a single company fits the criteria for me to invest in.
In Botswana.
In Botswana.
How many have you had that came to you?
I think 20 something now. None of them fit the criteria. It's yeah, I came to watch the Creative Cup here.
Yeah.
For the startup competition. There's this guy who has a brilliant idea. It's absolutely brilliant. His target is 1 million pula. I was like, well, why? That should be for like maybe 1 month, maybe, or even 3 weeks. Or with your solution 10x it, you should be targeting $10 million with that solution your first year, not 1 million pula. And that is the mindset we have. I like
it's too small.
Yeah, this borders thing, the thing of we're going to do things in Botswana. Botswana's problems are shared. Other countries have the same problems we have. So when you solve a problem here, you're most probably solving a problem in another country. So do that and then use the funds you get to reinvest and improve on your product. So yeah, I had that mindset, the Botswana mindset. One of the business we failed was e-commerce business. It was called Aogai. It was an e-commerce business in Botswana. Aogai.
Okay.
Yeah. It was in Botswana. Man, I thought that was the biggest idea I've ever had. I was like, I cracked it.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I look back at it now and I'm like, that was the most tiniest idea ever. One country?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just because of the change of mind. I now look at the world as borderless.
What made that change?
I was introduced to certain literature. Guys like Dan Sullivan, Peter Diamandis, 10x thinking. So every time I had an idea, I'd come to my dad and I'd tell him, and then he'd say, okay, go away, multiply it by 10, and then come back to me and we'll start talking. That's what I had to do, And then he
that is the CEO of
Elite Consulting. Yeah. And he introduced me to 10x thinking. He introduced me to exponential organization and the technologies and all that area. And that completely changed my mind. And then on top of that, my mom, she worked for the UN. So she was all over the world. And I was like, oh, I can be all over the world. So yeah, that exposure to that.
But how do you make sure you cultivate that mindset and you maintain it? That 10x mindset, that growth, because a lot of us can experience these, but then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month later, 6 months later, we're back at it again. Yeah.
Well, it's hard, but it's necessary. Jack Ma likes to say, today is difficult.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is much more difficult. Yeah. And the following day is beautiful.
Yeah.
But most people die tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens in this country, sadly. Most people die tomorrow because they found out it's too hard or something like that. We're very bad at implementation. We're very bad at execution, and we're absolutely terrible at maintenance. I mean, look at the buildings we have. The maintenance is poor. The roads, everything is poor. We don't know how to maintain. And just that goes everywhere. It's not just the roads. That's a reflection of who we are.
Yeah.
So as people, our individual lives, we don't maintain things. So if you have an idea, you won't maintain the consistency to do it because it's very hard. There are days where you sent out 300 sales emails. You've gotten 300 rejections. No improvement from the previous day. And then tomorrow you have to wake up and you have to do it all over again. And that can happen for a while. Very discouraging. But you have to be persistent and consistent, because one day you'll get a deal that will completely change everything. And you discover that, oh, okay, actually, let me do it this way. So it's very hard. You're not going to crack it in the first few months. Maybe, if you're lucky. But you're not going to crack it definitely the first day or a week. You have to be consistent. Yeah.
Talk to me about your come-up story. Who are you 10 years back? 10 years back, coming into who you are today?
So 10 years back, how old am I? 22. So 12. Yeah. So
you're in standard 7, 10 years. Like, it's nuts, man. Like, it's nuts to think just 10 years ago you were in standard 7, and now you're here.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's
so
insane.
I went to Thornhill Primary, and then I went to MAP, did my from 1 to 5 there. Also did my A-levels there. And yeah, I've always been interested. I've always been uncomfortable being a consumer. You know, it's always like, oh, why can't I produce?
Yeah.
You know, why not? And that was just me the whole high school. So, you know, in high school I started trying to invest, you know, but there were no investment opportunities. Like, I couldn't access precious metal from Botswana. I couldn't access stocks, you know, basic things. So I was like, you know, one of the companies which I sold was to increase access to investment opportunities for Africans, because I knew I wasn't the only one feeling this way. There are other people feeling this way. So yeah, but in terms of my upbringing, you know, family dynamics are very complicated. You know, I've suffered from mental health. I've had major depression disorder. I have PTSD, general anxiety disorder, and yeah, that's what I have. And I'm also dyslexic.
Damn, man, you're still a millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I've been through therapy. I've been on antidepressants. You know, it was quite bad. But you know, yeah, I think 2019 was the worst year. 2019 is like I set out with the goal of doing the most self-destructive behavior. You know, that 2019 was my final year of A-levels. You know, I'd go out drinking and not come home, or not communicate with my parents that I'm not coming home, come home late, drink during the week, you know, go out with friends. And, you know, it seemed okay because everyone's doing it, you know, but it was self-destructive.
So was this like, there's a, I don't know who said this, but they say a man who doesn't have a purpose will distract himself with pleasure. Was that kind of where you were trying to figure out yourself and figure out who you are and what you want?
It was a combination with that and also traumas from the past that I never attended to. I never unpacked my traumas, so they followed me. Wherever I went, they were there. So when I started unpacking them, then they stopped following me. And that's therapy. It's purely therapy that helped there. And yeah. So, and then 2019, end of 2019, things changed. I actually sat down, I was like, I want to start learning how to love myself.
What was that aha moment for you when you actually went like, you know what, man?
It was actually a car accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, that changed everything.
What happened?
I was out with friends and I pressed on and we were in a car park at KFC, and I pressed on the accelerator and it actually reversed into someone's car. And it hit me because I was like, it's my mom's car. It's not my car. I'm out. Most probably doing self-destructive behavior.
Yeah.
So
was it late? Probably late at night.
It was
early in the morning.
2 a.m. You know, and I asked myself, okay, play the movie forward. Is this what you're going to be doing in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Like, what's the plan? And that was the aha moment. Like, you know, when you get tired of being tired of where you are, you know. So that was the change. That was the pivot, really.
And then you went all in into this.
I went all in. I went to end of 2019. I went to work for my dad's company. I think I did 2 months there. Very uncomfortable being an employee. Always disagreed with the management.
Yeah.
Then I started my businesses. My first 6 businesses failed, by the way. All 6. And then my first successful was 2020.
And you talked about 16 hours a day. I think, who said this? Elon Musk. I work 16 hours a day, 365 days a year. I think he said for 20 years or 30 years, and people still call me lucky. Because also in my own view, I've seen a lot of successful people. And when you, because I've had the privilege of being close to them and understanding how they do things, like it makes sense. Like 16 hours a day, they answer the call, you reply your emails like it's WhatsApp. Like it's nuts. It makes sense why. And then you also get to be around struggling entrepreneurs and see what they're doing. And it also makes sense why. So what is this mindset change that we have to embody to allow us to break through where we are and transcend the way we think about ourselves?
First thing is that we have to stop the victim mentality.
Yeah.
We have to stop feeling sorry for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I say, yes, you have every right to be a victim. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
There's every right to be nihilistic, I say.
Yeah.
The nihilistic argument to me is the most logical thing ever, because we are going to die. Your friends and families are going to die and everything. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But you have about 80 years to live. Are you going to live 80 years like that? Or you could not do that.
We might even live longer with emerging technology.
Yeah, I mean, guys like Peter Diamandis, they want to, we doubled our lifespan in the past 100 years. They want to double it again. I mean, it's insane. I mean, our biotech company is supposed to be offering therapies as a service. New concept. We started it and, I'll talk about it later. But in order for the mindset change, we need to stop the victim mentality. We need to stop feeling sorry for ourselves. And we need to take responsibility for our own lives and hold ourselves accountable. The Gulag Archipelago, powerful book. That one of the books that took down the Soviet Union. I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He was in the Gulag camps. And in the book, he asked, how did I end up here? And he was blaming himself. When he had Stalin to blame, he had Soviet Union, Russia to blame. He had so many people to blame for being in the concentration camp. But he asked, how did I end up here because of my actions? I mean, that's powerful. I mean, he has every right to blame other people. So I say, when I was down, I was like, this is all my doing. It's my fault, So I think it's time to take responsibility for our lives and take accountability. It's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But again, play the movie forward. There's the you now. Then there's the you in 6 weeks. Then there's the you in a year. Then there's the you in 5 years. Then the you in 60 years. So there's a community of yous that you have the responsibility to take care of. So the you now should be acting in a manner that is taking care of that community of yous. That is, all the way up to 60 years. So that's how I view it. And I think that's how people should view it, that you actually have a moral obligation to do so. Because on the other side, it's actually, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice, when you actually I'm taking care of myself. Even if you, let's say, you don't shower every day because you're depressed, that happens. And you just start showering every second day. That's progress. Small incremental improvements lead to exponential growth.
Yes.
You do that for 5 years, you won't even recognize yourself.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching this episode. We really hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Deep Dive is dedicated to bringing you the most comprehensive and engaging information about business, personal finance, and personal development. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with all our latest content. If you like this video, give it a like to show your support and help us reach a wider audience. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and your family who may be interested. Sharing helps us grow our community and connect with like-minded individuals. Leave a comment below and give us your biggest takeaway on this episode. If you're interested in being a part of our live studio audiences, make sure to register for the next show. Can't make it to the show? No problem. Check out our Patreon page to watch the full episode and get exclusive access to more great content. Thank you for watching.